Our last conversation today is focusing on what happened in Elgeyo Marakwet, but from a meteorological standpoint. Yes, we're speaking with the Deputy Director of Research and Education at the Kenya Met Department, and we're talking about forecasting and planning, how it feeds into, of course, disaster preparedness. If we missed the mark, specifically in Elgeyo Marakwet, if there was early warnings in place, what should have we done? No, what should have we done? Yes, I hope that's correct English. Anyway, you get what I mean. But basically, what should have been done to prevent any loss of life? And how do we use Kenya Met's technology and positioning, all of that, to, of course, forecast and prepare us for weather incidences and accidents? Yeah.
So, yes, Richard Mwiti is in studio. Richard, thank you for joining us. I'll start with a quick quote.
Right. She'll share a quote with you. If it resonates with you, tuambie. If it speaks to you, tuambie. If not, tuambie pia.
Yeah, just be like, it doesn't resonate. The quote is by Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and she once said, "The collapse of systems is never sudden. It happens slowly when care is replaced by convenience."
Well, thank you very much for having me. I guess the quote speaks for itself. When perhaps you ignore a system, it can rebut or back. And if you just do it for it to serve you the way you want, then that's for your own convenience. So I guess it resonates with the life of everything that we do around ourselves.
Does it resonate with the work you do? Do you feel like systems are adequate enough? Before we get into the specifics of what's happened in Elgeyo Marakwet, do we have a systems issue when it comes to disaster response management?
Well, systems are there to provide solutions, but remember that systems are managed and manned by human beings. And in general, that the systems that we use for early warning and forecasting work, they are adequate in the sense that what you feed into the system and what you use it to analyze and give an output is what it provides. And then you add that to the knowledge and the expertise that we have, and therefore we are able to provide the information that is available now to people to use.
There was a bite that we ran of CS Barasa of Environment, and in that specific bite, I know that there was more that was said. She said perhaps Kenya Met can be issuing communication in advance so that we don't have the kind of situation we've seen in Elgeyo Marakwet. So maybe we can start by asking whether any warning signs had been issued by Kenya Met, whether communication had happened, because from what the CS is implying is that perhaps it should have been better communicated.
Yeah, of course we communicate on a regular basis, and the communication we do is continuous. First and foremost, we have structures in place across all the 47 counties. That, of course, includes Elgeyo Marakwet. And we have various categories of early warning, information. First, we have the 24-hour forecasts. We have the 5-day forecasts. We have the 7 days forecasts. We have monthly forecasts, and we have seasonal forecasts. And of course, we also have specialized forecasts, either on request or when there is something that is required to be reported. So we normally also provide what we call advisories. So you'd find that even for whatever happened, or what happened in Elgeyo Marakwet, it was part of the early warning information we provide. And the structures that are in place from the county level, from the national government level, at the county level, and even at the county level, you have various, kind of pathways through which you provide this information. Perhaps maybe if you allow, I can tell you how it happens. We have a county director of Meteorological Services in charge of Elgeyo Marakwet. And he works closely with the national government through the county commissioner. So they have these regular meetings. And one of the ways is to provide this information through that office. And it is, kind of disseminated across all the departments. Then we also have the agricultural, agriculture is is devolved. So the director for agriculture again is part which is looped, and therefore they would also escalate this through the different WhatsApp groups and the different at both the sub-county and the ward level. And remember, through the commissioner, you have that hierarchy where you have the chief, and so who actually is at the level where the Mwananchi is. So that information is escalated there. And apart from that, we also have the farmer groups, among other structures, just to mention a few. So once information is released, in fact, it doesn't take long before it reaches the last mile, that person at. Yeah.
Whew. Okay, let me start with the basics of the accuracy of Kenya Met's predictions. I think they've gotten a lot more accurate over the years. Technology is improving, lots is happening. But yeah, how would you term the accuracy of the forecast? Let me not call them predictions. I don't know if that's a correct term. The accuracy of Kenya Met's forecasts.
It's awesome. It's awesome. For the reason that we also do verification. We do verify when we release the forecasts, when we release the early warning information. How good is it in terms of the feedback we receive from the people?
Right.
Of course, you can't miss one or two people there who would say that this was not right. But of course, we have, over the years, we have known why some people react that way. Most of the time, they are not aware, they did not follow up, but they are reactive. When something happens is when they are aware, oh, you know, Kenya Met Department releases weather forecasts. And I think they are wrong because I got trained on, I got bashed, I got swept away, my crop was destroyed. But for those who really follow, they'll tell you. They'll tell you at the blink of the eye that yes, they said they released. In the last, we heard over the radio. We heard over in that WhatsApp group, that neighbor told us that the Kenya Met said we expect heavy rain for around this area. So people are aware. It's not like maybe 10, 20 years ago. Yeah.
Then why do we still feel unprepared?
Yeah, I guess it's the nature of human beings.
Yeah,
it's the nature of human beings where modeling the human being, you know, is one of the most complex models to model, even in your other activities.
Yeah.
You are moodless now. The other minute you are laughing and smiling. The other day you don't want what you planned in the morning. So
it's human nature. I'm thinking through what amount of rainfall is cause for alarm. What is your, basically your baseline, and then, what threshold do you hit? And it's now time to send warnings and tell people, and tell the county Met director, as well as the agriculture director, hapa kuna shida.
Yeah, normally we provide what we call impact-based forecasts.
Okay.
Before we used to provide just forecasts, saying that it will rain here, the temperatures will be like this, the winds will be like this. But over the years now, we have been providing impact-based. That is to tell you that we expect rains, perhaps of this threshold, and the impact is that it might lead to flooding, it might lead to just no rain, or it will be depressed, it will be dry, or the temperatures will be high, and therefore this is what you can do. You know, the impact in terms, it comes with an advisory.
Okay.
What are the possible scenarios that you can take action about, and therefore we talk about anticipatory action.
Okay.
Where people have to put some measures in place. Of course, we have both adaptation and mitigation, where people to adapt is like you may have unprecedented amounts of rainfall that maybe as a human being there's nothing you can do about it, but perhaps either you can move away, or if you had put structures in place, like maybe on your farm you had put terraces and other things, maybe they'll protect you against that. But the government also probably have put some measures in place, including, you know, like the disaster response, pathways through which they communicate to the communities. So basically, I guess we normally provide the forecasts with the possible impact.
Impact-based forecasting. Your pinned tweet is on the heavy rainfall advisory that was issued for the 23rd to the 30th of October 2025.
Right.
And it said rainfall currently affecting parts of the Lake Victoria Basin, Rift Valley, and the highlands west of the Rift Valley is expected to intensify to more than 30 millimeters in 24 hours and spread to the highlands east of the Rift, including in Nairobi, and southeastern lowlands from 23rd October. This heavy rainfall is expected to continue and extend to parts of the northeast from 30th October, marking the likely onset of the OND 2025 short rains over many areas. Residents in affected counties are advised to be alert for floods and landslides, avoid walking or driving through moving water, and stay away from open fields and trees during storms. This was on the 22nd of October. That last part, residents in affected counties are advised to be alert for floods and landslides.
Is there any way to make that a bit more alarmist for the first time ever? Because it sounds like just be aware as opposed to, and I'm also wondering, again, I'm like, is it a forecast issue? Is it a communication? Is it a ripple effect issue? Because with people having died from landslides, I think, I mean, through the pinned tweet Mariam has just read, I guess that is the part of Kenya Met, is to say, this is what's happening. Is there room to issue more severe warnings and say, please note, there is the advisory, actually, it's on. Was it that it wasn't, that those in counties, let's say the county of Elgeyo Marakwet, didn't heed, didn't see the urgency? Where do you think there's room for it to translate to warning, you need to evacuate to?
And to be fair, is that the work of Kenya Met?
Fair enough.
To be honest, I'm
Fair
genuinely,
enough.
Is it their job to be like warning, red lights?
Yes.
Or is it their job to say this is going to happen?
Yeah.
And then someone else now
do with it what you
shall. I don't know. You tell us, Richard.
Well, I guess it's like you just answered yourselves. As an institution, we never want to be alarmist.
Okay.
First and foremost, because you'd scare the hell out of people. We just are objective and we are data driven. When we analyze, the way we have been trained is that data, in whichever form, does not lie. It just tells you if it's 20, it's 20, not 20.1. So when we provide the early warning, information, including like the advisories, and you put it very well, what we do is that at the county level and the sub-county and subsequently up to the village and household level, our officers in that county, as I said earlier, they would, engage with other stakeholders from the national government, county government, and including the community level. And the information we talk about downscaling, when it reaches there, it has to be downscaled, like the information we provided here. The county directors will downscale this information so it becomes more relevant to the area where it's targeted. And talking to the county director of Meteorological Services in Elgeyo Marakwet, he would tell you that he did what his job description says.
Right.
That his responsibility is to ensure that that information reaches all the stakeholders in that county.
Right.
And that's the same across all the counties. And so once that information reaches, they would use the different government agencies, including NGOs that work with the community. And one of the things that I've come to learn, because I'm in charge of regional meteorological services in the eastern region of the country, from the coast to Marsabit.
Okay.
And so you'd find that when we are on the ground and talking to people, they would tell you, yeah, we know the meteorological people because we hear your information, we hear the person is, like you see for Elgeyo Marakwet, I think the closest is E10. That would be the kind of like the headquarter where is closest to get the administrative. And so at the end of it all, you'd find that they get this information in the simplest way possible.
Right.
And I hear there have been a lot of efforts in that region, because one thing you also have to understand Elgeyo Marakwet, the landform. Because first of all, looking at Elgeyo Marakwet, it is hilly and also valleys, right? And then there is this escarpment which is up to about 3,500 meters high. It's very,
that's incredibly
meaning that
high.
if it rains, uphill or upstream, then you are likely to find a lot of water coming down, and if this rains is heavy, like now, the heavy rainfall advisory that was given.
Yeah.
And one other thing is that since the March to May season, and also the June to August season, that area, that region, including the highlands west of the Rift Valley, they have been receiving rains almost continuously. So what it means is that the impact that occurred in Elgeyo Marakwet might not necessarily have been due to the rains that occurred last week.
Right.
It
Like
is
you said,
kind
the
of
soil may be
Yeah,
saturated.
yes, because landslides are both geomorphological, geological kind of activity. Of course, there's also the issue of soil, and of course now water, and also the issue of degradation. In that area, there's a lot of degradation.
I'm still
Cutting of trees, which
Yeah.
can hold the soil together, and then people building down the... So sort of there is that exposure of putting environmental conditions that could exacerbate, such disasters to occur.
Yeah.
So basically, it's been raining all year.
It has been raining.
More or less. The soil is saturated. There's not enough trees to hold the soil together.
That's the thing.
People are building on steep, like downhill.
Down the escarpment.
The escarpments.
Yep.
So it's
It's like an inevitability in a
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering where the alarm needs to be sounded. Because I was looking at, for example, at the Hurricane Melissa thing, I was as anxious as people in Jamaica because they were getting warnings, move. So even though there was some level of destruction, unfortunately, and loss, there was a lot of preparedness because the forecast was alarmist. And I hear you when you say your job is to be objective. I'm like, somebody needs to sound the alarm though. So I'm just wondering at what level that there needs to be that alarmist nature, but also just going back to your description just now, is also trying to figure out when you can anticipate a landslide if the factors are so nuanced that it's not, you can't exactly, I don't know whether this was easily predictable. Based on what you're saying, it was a number of factors, not just rains. But let's go back to where the alarm should be sounded.
Right.
Well, let me say this, that some of these events you see, they are a result of various efforts. For example, the information I have is that there have been concerted efforts by the government and various other agencies, including NGOs, to try and sensitize and educate the local community about how best to live. And some of the efforts have led to telling the community that instead of farming around the escarpments, why don't you change to an alternative kind of livelihood?
Right.
Instead of farming where you have to cut trees and put crops, go for fruit trees and that kind of thing. Change to something that would sustain the environment, would conserve the environment, such that even simple issues or disasters like soil erosion may not occur, because of course it will also compromise your farming and your other activities. And so from the information I've read, there has been kind of what we talked about, people sort of are slow to either absorb that information and take action. And there have been even concerted, I hear even seeds have been provided where you can plant, instead of change from the crop to tree, farming. And also I hear through some organization, there is also provision of people doing beehive, honey harvesting or farming, so that you have alternative livelihood. And when you look at it, because there is information that there's a lot of cutting of trees in order to burn charcoal. And when you burn charcoal, then that tree is gone forever. But if you say plant trees and put up beehives, actually you'll get even much better income, and the trees are still there, and eventually you may also get fruits at the end of the day. And the environment, the sanctity of the environment has been preserved, and therefore you also reduce the chances that such disasters could occur. So those are some of the efforts that have been ongoing in that area. So the alarm becomes a little bit tricky to just put an alarm when other factors are driving some of these
Fair enough.
issues.
I get that. And so we've gotten more or less, we had Gashon Mokazi yesterday, who's a disaster, he's head of disaster management at World Vision, said more or less the same thing. Preventive measures, you work around that so that you don't have these eventualities happen, or you mitigate the bad effects. It's always from now our point of view is that sometimes, especially with climate change, some things are just really hard to predict. So I get where Jano is saying, because you see in the developed world, literal alarms, it's on the TV, you're being told evacuate, it's sirens blaring, telling people move. So there's still a need for that, but I think that's a conversation to have with now other stakeholders in the chain of command. The predictability of it is also now being made harder with climate change.
Yeah.
How is Kenya Met foolproofing against climate change? Is it possible, first of all? Is it possible?
Yeah, first and foremost, there's been lots of talks about climate change, and maybe people actually over-exaggerate.
Okay.
Because climate change is a long-term kind of change that impacts a place where the weather has changed gradually and over time, and it has like flipped upside down. So the current argument we put strongly is about the occurrence of climate extremes. Because with extremes, it means like in Nairobi, for instance, it can rain, very heavy rain for within 1 hour, and you see flash floods, and they either sweep some cars off the road, or some people are affected, and that kind of thing. That's an extreme event that has occurred, and it is specific, and it occurs and causes maybe a certain impact. But for climate change is where, for instance, you have been seeing this pattern of rainfall over a long period. Every season, maybe you expect this, you get this kind of crops, you get this kind of, plans in place. But then over time, that changes. Maybe a place that was not receiving so much rainfall now starts being bashed by so much rainfall. There's floods, and even people say, we never used to see this kind of thing here. And it consistently continues like that. That now is an indication that climate change could be setting in. The other indicator of climate change is temperature change. When you look at the global average temperature, it has changed. In fact, in the last about 60 years, we are looking at more than 1.23 degrees centigrade. And following the Paris, Conference of Parties in 2015, they said that countries, all member countries, should try and work and not exceed the 1.5 degrees centigrade threshold of the pre-industrial levels. Unfortunately, that has, by 2030, now we are in 2025, some countries, some places, this has already, including Kenya. And therefore, what we are looking at is that we don't talk much about the climate change, because we are looking at what is happening currently. What will the impact be maybe in the next 1 week, 1 month, 3 months? Because that's within which most of the human activities and systems that we work with operate. But for strategic reasons, then the climate change scenarios come in, where a company like NTV wants to plan 5 years ahead. Maybe you have some investments in agriculture or in the digital, in some places which are, climate sensitive. And therefore, the climate change scenarios and predictions come in handy. Because you can plan 5, 10, 20 years. And of course, they also come with their weakness, which of course is a bias. The further you go, the larger the error. And therefore, you'd still need this short-term focus or early warning for you to inform the climate change predictions. So for us, we have been able to inform people from this short term, but the long terms are also important for strategic reasons.
There's a lot of questions around the climate extremes, which I like that that's what we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, and we'll talk about now the long term as well. I just wanted to ask anecdotally, this is just Mariam asking, is Nairobi getting colder?
Well, I would say that Nairobi is not getting colder. In actual fact, it's getting warmer.
From a data perspective, it's getting warmer.
It's getting warmer. What I guess...
Does it feel like it? Yeah.
What I guess is that people need to understand that the climatology of Kenya, including that of Nairobi, is seasonal. You know, we have 4 major seasons in Kenya. 2 dry seasons and 2 rain seasons.
Yes.
So for the dry seasons, we have one that is extremely dry, like from mid-December to around February, right? And sometimes it's sizzling hot. You don't want to go with your hair out there. You don't want to go with much clothes. But then between June and September, you have now the cold season setting in. And I guess any time the June to September season comes in, people now start crying that it's cold.
And colder.
And colder. But when you look at the numbers, when you look at the temperatures, you don't find that to be true. Because, for example, last year, the World Meteorological Organization, declared that it was the warmest year in history.
Yes.
Globally.
Globally. Yes.
Meaning that even the temperatures during the cold seasons
were higher than.
No.
So that's globally.
Yeah.
I'm using Nairobi as an example.
Yeah. So for Nairobi,
I do, and I can't argue with data. Just personal experience.
Really cold.
Not just last year. I feel like gradually Nairobi has been getting cooler in the cooler months. So the cooler months are cooler than they used to be, and then it takes a lot longer to get out of the cool months than it used to. Like November was a lot warmer than it is right now. Last year we went into December largely overcast. I think the year before was almost the same. This is just me as a person who loves sunshine, noticing certain trends.
Not just you though,
That's
even
why I'm
anecdotally,
asking.
it's what people keep saying. Hey, why is it taking so long to get into the next month?
To get into the warmer seasons.
I think the latter you are right, because due to what we call climate variability, fluctuations, and maybe to some extent also some footprints of climate change, which is the long term, you find that the length of the seasons are changing.
Right.
Where, for instance, the rain seasons are becoming shorter, the drier seasons may be becoming longer, sometimes becoming warmer than, those fluctuations. And so you are right in the latter. But what you said earlier is that there are still situations where you may even find temperatures going much low, not on a continuous basis. Because, for example, in Kenya, the coldest place in Kenya is around Nyandarua. And sometimes you even see snow. I don't know if some of you come from there. And you find that when it's cold, it doesn't even go to what we define as frost. Because the definition for frost, it must go below the 0 degrees centigrade, like the temperatures you have in Moscow and some other places during winter. However, here, the lowest we have recorded around those coldest places is something like 5 degrees. And if you are there, you could feel that you are really freezing. You have to dress very heavily, while actually we are just... And in Nairobi, when you say it's cold, we are talking about 16 degrees.
And night lows of 11.
And we are saying it's getting cold, while it's not cold per se,
In comparison to, but we can't
But I know
we're comparing to Nairobi of yesteryear, not to Nyandarua. Nyandarua is special, but let's move back.
I wanted to ask 2 questions. One is there anything we can learn from what's just happened in Marakwet? Does government, does Kenya Met say, when we've had something like this, this is the lesson we learned? And does that then carry forward into what happens next time?
Yeah, well, maybe I might not speak for the government, but I did a similar interview on KBC in 2019 when there was a major landslide in West Pokot. I don't know whether in TV were able to capture that. And by then, almost similar situation happened. I remember Marakwet and West Pokot, they are just neighbors, very close to each other. And they are impacted by more or less the same. Like you see for Marakwet, you see the Cherangani Hills. When it rains heavily, that water trickles down to around this area. The same case with West Pokot, where we had that landslide in 2019.
And it was Kenya's worst in a decade. That's according to, and 53 people died, thousands injured.
It was even worse than
this one.
And more or less the same kind of drivers.
Right.
The same kind of situation. And then I remember, and if you go online still, you can pick out that video. It's still there online. And you'll find that I talked about, people taking certain anticipatory action and measures to prevent such in the future.
Yes.
And in my sense, because I'm also a researcher, I'm not just focused, I'm also a researcher. I've published many papers. You would find that some of those things that we talk here, and I think the media can also play a major role.
Right.
Some of the things that the experts talk or provide here can be part of the policies that we introduce through bills in our county assemblies and in the national assemblies and even in the Senate. Why? Because when they are within the policy space, it is easy for them to be implemented. Because they would only remain as recommendations. They would only remain as my ideas, what I think should work better. And so in my view, I think we have been talking about this, and I believe we have had other experts, maybe even from the disaster sector, coming here and saying that if this and this and this is done, that this can work out better, it can minimize the fatalities, it can minimize the impact. So it's about action.
Right.
If we can act now, not tomorrow, if we can act now we learn from what we see now. And even from the previous, we have had other landslides in between 2019 and now. Murang'a is notorious with landslides. Sometimes unapata shamba ya mtu ya majani imepelekwa kwa jirani. Because that chunk of soil has been swept down.
Shamba imehama.
Yes, shamba imehama. So in a sense, I think it requires kind of a concerted effort by all, from the individual level to the government, to the private sector, if they can just come together and address a problem that's already known.
Right.
Because I believe we can reduce these numbers to zero, even if we have future landslides, because we provide the weather information, we provide the early warning. Our county directors at the ground, they actually talk with the people at all levels. From the government level to the village to the sub-county, and there are many seminars, even barazas actually. I was surprised. Nowadays the ownership or the network of mobile phones, not even necessarily smartphones, is more than 120% in this country.
Right.
You find if you want even to send money to your shosh or your mom home,
mobile money,
mobile money, akona kale katululu. And you are able to communicate even either by calling or even SMS. And they can read. And therefore, this is not different even for information on weather.
Right.
Yeah.
It's easy to get this information even on phone and take action.
I agree. I'm thinking through Kenya Met's work with communities. Sometimes you're right, that information needs to go all the way down, and you've given us the structures up until a point. Is there places for Kenya Met specifically to work with communities, especially when it comes to agricultural communities? A lot of smallholder farmers are often caught off guard by the climate extremes. We still plant very seasonally. We're still working with short rains, long rains, and then as we've seen, that's not the case. So is there a way to work with especially smallholder farmers? Because large-scale farmers, they are working, they are looking at Kenya Met, they are forecasting 5 years, not even next season. Yeah,
now that you talk about community, let me talk in Swahili.
Aye.
So that the communities who are listening to NTV wanaweza wakanipata kwa njia iliyo sawa. Kwa hiyo kile ambacho naweza nikasema ni kwamba swala zima la majanga katika nchi ya Kenya ni swala ambalo ni la msingi na linafaa lifuatiliwe vizuri. Make lina athari nyingi. Tunapata kwamba watu wengi wanaumia, tunapoteza mali, na pia tunajua kwamba katika nchi ya Kenya, hasa tunapozungumzia wakulima ambao ni wanyanjani, ambao mwaita smallholder farmers, ni kwamba hawa wakulima ndio wanaochangia kwa asilimia kubwa kwa kile ambacho tunakiita kitofu cha uchumi wa nchi ya Kenya. Maana nchi ya Kenya kilimo ndicho kinachochangia zaidi katika uchumi wa nchi.
True. Bread basket.
Kwa hiyo niseme kwamba sisi kama idara tunaandaa taarifa ambazo zinafaa. Na hizi taarifa zinapofika kule nyanjani, wale maafisa wetu ambao wanafanya kazi kwa ukaribu sana na wananchi, ikiwemo na wale wakulima, wanajaribu kudadafua yale zile ripoti ili wakulima waweze kuelewa. Ara kuna wakati ambapo wanazungumza kwa lugha ambayo ni ya hapo nyumbani, ili wale wakulima na wananchi wengine ambao ni watumizi wa huduma zetu wakaweza kuwa na uelewa mzuri. Kwa hiyo mimi nikiangalia ni kwamba sisi tumetia jitihada na tumefanya hayo. Kilichobaki sasa ni kwa wale wananchi, wale wakulima kufuatilia na kuweza kuchukua hatua ambazo ni stahiki ili kuweza kuzuia. Swala hapa ni kuzuia. Kuzuia tuseme majanga haya, kuzuia ajali. Maana kwa sasa hivi tuna makali ya hali ya hewa ambayo yanabadilika kila uchao. The climate extremes. Na kwa hiyo lazima tukae ngangari sisi kama wakulima kule nyanjani kujua kwamba makali ya hali ya hewa yanaweza yakaibuka wakati wowote. Kwa hivyo idara inapotoa taarifa kwamba tunatarajia mvua ya zaidi ya milimita 30 kwa saa 20 zijazo, tuwe macho, tusisubirie hadi pale tutakapogongwa. Alafu hatimaye tutakuwa tunasema kwamba tumepata ajali, hatukutaarifiwa. Na pia tuwasikilize wale wataalam. Maana wataalam wamefunzwa, wamebobea katika ule utaalamu. Wanaposema kwamba si vizuri labda kupanda, kulima hapa na kufanya, tusije tukawa tunafutana nao kusema bwana mnataka mtuondoe sijui tuende wapi. Na hamna mtu ambaye ana haja kukuondoa. Tunataka maisha yako yawe salama, mali ya kwako iwe salama, na pia uishi maisha marefu kama alivyokujalia Jalali.
Natumaini kuwa wataalamu hawa wa idara wanatumia lugha ambayo ni rahisi pia, kwa sababu labda ukiambia mtu kutakuwa na mvua milimita 30
atasema hata ona kama kuna shida yoyote.
Nani anajua milimita 30 ni ngapi? Unajua, lakini labda ukimwambia mvua ambayo inakuja inaweza songesha shamba lako kwa jirani, ataelewa.
Natumai pia tunayasema kwa mifano mingi. Make tunasema kwa mfano kwamba sehemu hii imekuwa ikinyesha. Hivi labda hata mashamba udongo umeloa maji. Kwa hivyo kilichoko ni kwamba labda usije ukapanda ama labda usije ukafuna kipindi hiki cha mvua, maana huenda ukapata hasara. Kwa hiyo tunaelezea kwa mifano mingi hivi kwamba if the community at that level are able to agree, and if they think the information is wrong, they can also prove us wrong by following up and saying you gave us this advisory on heavy rains, yet we did not see what
the heavy rains did not come.
Did not come or did not bring the impact that you had tried to highlight. And we tutachukua radhi kusema kwamba ndio hapo tumekosa ama labda hiki na hiki ndicho tulikuwa tunamaanisha.
Ningeomba kutia hofu. For the first time, let's be alarmist. I'm sorry. I am very sorry. I know that it's not good. Anything else can be bad. I do think someone somewhere in this chain needs to be a bit more alarmist, because you can be lax, you can say okay kutanyesha alafu hiyo kusema itasonga kwa majirani, labda you're just saying, I don't know. And I'm not undermining anything, by the way. I think, Richard, what you're saying is so critical, because you're giving us insight into the best you can do and the best you can communicate, and that at the end of the day it's also for people to take it seriously. I think once we get to once we're able to, the people of Elgeyo Marakwet right now, especially those who've been affected, are going into a season of, they have to go into a season of healing. There's been so much trauma. I'd really want to understand whether the community felt that the warning was, what's the word? That the warning came in a way that made them realize, oh, I guess we have to move, that there was room made to say, these are some of the ideas we have into where you can go to seek temporary reprieve before because if that isn't there, if it's not that alarmist, I don't know that I would move.
Then I think for me that's then the thread. I get why Kenya Met can't be alarmist.
Fair enough.
I think the alarm should come down the chain.
Yes.
Because as for them, they're providing data,
and
the predictions. Then the person next in line, whether it's the county director, whether it's now the disaster response systems, I think then they're the ones to call and literally, ring the alarm.
Sound the alarm,
sound the alarm.
And it can never be perfect. You'll always have people maybe who are set in their ways, and they say, this is my, remember we said ancestral land.
Yeah, this is
Niende
my
wapi.
Niende wapi.
But what will it take? That's why I was like, the lessons learned. What needs to happen? Because, and as Richard will probably confirm, it's not like this is the last time we'll see landslides. So how do we then now make room to say heightened awareness, heightened information going forward? Is there anything you would want to see shift in the next sort of like forecast? Is there something that you're like, look, if one thing needs to shift, it's this? What would it be?
Actually, can I add context to that question?
Yes.
Answer it with the forecast for the coming months.
That's good.
And how, you would like us to shift our response.
Yeah, I guess that, as I said, that the human being is a very complex, model, actually, to forecast, to model. A model is something you put data into it, try to mimic the way it behaves, and so on. So what I tend to think for what Janet is saying in terms of the alarm, we do have different alarm levels. Even when we provide the advisories, now at the ground level. And I'll give a practical example with one that we do for Nairobi informal settlement about the flash floods that happen. And sometimes you see them affecting the informal settlements where people are found in their small houses which are not very well constructed, and they are affected. So what would happen is we would have different colors that indicate that if it's amber, then we raise our level of anticipatory reaction to this. If it is red, then move. Move. So those kind of tools are there, and we normally use them. It's only that perhaps I don't have a sample here right now, but you'd find that how many people perhaps are keen on following that, because there is the behavior of the human being, and for that alarm aspect to come in place, then sensitization and awareness must have taken effect. Because without you internalizing that this is important for my life and my property, that in case an advisory is provided, the alarm could come from green to amber
to red.
So how am I prepared as an individual? Because I'll tell you that no matter what measures government put in place, the responsibility still trickles down to you.
To be proactive.
It is you to take care when you are boarding a matatu, not to fall when you are stepping into the matatu. The conductor will not, the driver will not.
Sorry, 30 seconds, Richard, because we're completely out of time. Tupatie forecast kama unajua ya tuko on November, December, Jan, Feb, or as far as you can go.
Okay, I guess I'll go with, we give the seasonal forecast, which stretches between October and December. And we generally say that we expected below average rainfall across most parts of the country, apart from some parts of the highlands west of the Rift Valley. And in this case, we also say that we expect some storms across a few places or some days, and that's part of what you are seeing in some places, some very heavy rains. But overall, the season we expect near normal to below average rains. But at the end of it, we also have the 7-day forecast. And here we are forecasting that we expect the rains to continue across the country, the coastal region, some parts of the highlands east, including Nairobi. But the intensity is not expected to be as heavy as it was the previous week. But in Western Highlands, the areas in Western Kenya, we expect them to continue seeing these rains across the coming few days.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Richard Mwiti, Deputy Director for Research and Education at the Kenya Meteorological Department. We've been discussing forecasts, the winds, how we can use them to mitigate disasters like what happened in Elgeyo Marakwet. We have to love you and leave you now. It's been an amazing 4 hours. What a fantastic show. Jano, are we looking forward to anything Thursday and Friday, Niku? Sure.
Acha niende. I said I'm fighting for my life.
Yes,
At
yes.
least nimechangamka kidogo.
Umechangamka, yeah.
Tomorrow I'll be like, Mariam, niko tu sawa.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you're also looking forward to things. We'll circle back, Kesho,
I like
and
that.
be like, what are we looking forward
What
to?
are we looking forward to?
But yes, as Mariam said, love you, leave you in the hands of Winnie and Wikali for your world. That's coming up in just a moment. And Vibe Shift on Nation FM with Claudia Naisabo and Brian Aseli. Thank you for staying with Fixing the Nation. We will see you tomorrow. The topic, is that the topic for your world?
Body image filters and the mirror war. Hey, body image filters and the mirror war.
We tell you with Winnie and Nini Wikali, just be ready.
When
in a notebook.
the person you're looking at in the mirror versus the one on the phone, they're not the same.
Andika na usilie is what we're saying.
Bye. See you tomorrow.